everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I'm your host, Emily Hayden, and you are joining me for another episode of Girl Talk. Girl Talk is where I get a few girlfriends of mine together and we talk about all things related to being a woman in today's age. It's a good time. So welcome. Today I have two guests. The first one is Stormi. She is a Phorm Elite Athlete with me, online personal motivation, inspiration guest, and I'm so excited to have you on. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And the second guest is Kat. I have her in my phone as Kat Bitco because she is engaged to Shane, who you guys have seen on the show before. So Kat, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Emily.
Of course. So I would love if you guys would both take just a few minutes. We'll start with you, Stormi, and let the audience know kind of a little bit about who you are, where you grew up, a little bit of your background and what you do right now.
All right, you guys. So I was born in Houston, Texas.
Wait, I did not know this.
Girl, I mean...
Stormi.
Girl talk.
Okay,
I'm
hang
just
on.
saying.
Sorry, what year is your birthday again?
89.
Okay, we were in Houston at the same time.
Jeez.
How are we? Did you know this? You know I'm from Houston. You know I was born and raised.
Well, I was waiting for this moment
Stormi,
to talk to you.
I'm a little offended. How long have we known each other?
For a while now, but I'm just saying, like, this is the perfect time. See, the surprise is there.
I'm going to need a minute to gather myself. Okay, how long were you in Houston for?
I was only there for a little bit because maybe about 3 years, and then I moved to LA. My mom, she took me there. Absolutely amazing woman, and I grew up there for a little bit. Stayed in Hawaii when I was 16 for some time. Stayed with my grandmother and everything like that. And then once I've graduated high school, I moved to Sweden, Stockholm, where my father's from.
Wow.
And I studied abroad. I went to the university out there. And the reason why, because I felt like I really didn't fit into the whole social norm of being in high school, then from that going into like a sisterhood or things like that, even though I loved it, but I just wanted to explore myself, my family, and where I originally came from. And so I thought no better way than to leave the country at a very young age and go to Stockholm. And there I lived with my grandparents in Värmdö. Värmdö is like the foresty part of Sweden, well, Stockholm, and if anything, excuse me. And then after that, I went to the University of Södertörn Högskola. That's an international university for exchange students. And I stayed there for a good year, or a couple of years actually. And then I came back home.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not like you lived your whole life in Houston. I'm still stuck on that.
No. Yeah. I was born there and I stayed
Gotcha.
there for a few years. And my mom, she just wanted to take me away and to create better opportunity for me.
That's absolutely incredible. I had no idea that you were so versed and had lived in so many crazy different places.
Yeah.
Do you speak other languages?
Yes, I speak Swedish.
Wow. I'm learning so much right now. Okay, tell them a little bit about what you do currently right now.
Okay, so currently I actually am an online personal trainer and I love it, but I am moving forward to trying to help women like myself who suffer from autoimmunity. So I have lupus and I also have thyroid disease. I have Hashimoto's that turned into Graves, and it has changed my whole entire fitness career completely. And it hasn't been the same, but I absolutely am in love with who I am today and who I'm becoming. And I want to give women that confidence for themselves who's going through the same thing, if not worse, to just keep prevailing, keep trying, keep just pushing, and don't be stuck and victimized by their situation.
That's huge. Thank you. I'm so excited to dive into that.
Yes.
Kat, okay, give us a little breakdown. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? All of the above.
So I'm from Houston, Texas.
Lies. From where?
Houston.
Houston.
Oh, yeah.
Houston.
I just wanted to be part of the gang for a second. No.
Oh, I love it.
I am from England originally. I was born and raised there. I moved away from England when I was 21. I had the opportunity from my dad to get a green card and had the choice whether I wanted to stay in England or if I wanted to kind of progress my life further and go to somewhere that I've never been to before. The only part of America I've ever been in is Orlando. So I was like, you know what? I'm not sure if I'm ready to make that move. So I decided to go work on cruise ships for a couple of years. Ended up working for the lovely Mickey Mouse and sailed around the world for 3 years. I learned probably more than I did in those 3 years than I did in 21 years before growing up. And it was just a great experience. And then when I decided to finish there, I went back to England and I've evolved into this kind of traveler, world traveler. I've met new people, been to different countries, and then I had my friendship group there, which would kind of just stay the same. So I took that decision upon myself, booked a flight 1 week later. I was one-way ticket to California. March the 1st, 2015, I landed, cried myself to sleep that night in the airport hotel because I was like, what did I do? I arrived in the darkness and I was like, where am I? I was near Koreatown, you know. The first night I got there, I got in a hotel, I was near Koreatown. I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I seen a couple homeless people and I was like, okay, breathe. The next day, you know, I rented a car and then I did the drive, you know, 2 weeks around California, fell in love. I even drove to Vegas for a night and then ended up downtown for the first year and then moving over to the west side of LA. And it's been a journey. One would say I've learned a lot, come across a lot of different people. But in fact, I'm actually now going to be moving to Houston, Texas. Well, not Houston, an hour above Houston. So
Houston
next
is so
month.
cute. Yeah, congratulations, by the way.
Thank
so
you.
her and Shane, they just bought a house. That's her fiance.
That's so awesome. Really.
Yeah. It's so amazing. You guys are both engaged, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, this was actually...
Level completed.
Yeah, level completed. Okay, so let's go into this.
Yes.
This was actually a question. How do you feel about the pressure that society puts on you to do things in a certain timeline? For example, like, I know that you're like, let's go.
I love this question. You go first, though.
I want to hear you because you're so
yeah.
enthusiastic.
So, for example, I know that you were with your fiance now. You guys were together for a long time before you were actually engaged, right?
Yes.
So did you get pressure from outside people to like make that step? And how did you deal with that and know that it just wasn't time for you yet?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Okay, because I think when you get older as a woman and you really discover yourself, like you have time to yourself, things change tremendously compared to what it was in your younger 20s, right? And so like my family, they're from the South. So, you know, everybody from the South.
They all get married. They all have kids.
Exactly. And so my mom, she's like half and half with both. And so Sable and I, we've been together 10 years, by the way. 10 years. So
10 years?
Isn't that so cool?
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
were best
gosh.
friends before, and then we grew on each other. So a lot of people don't know about it.
Wow.
We choose to keep our relationship private and try and work through things because we're of different cultures. So he's originally from Taiwan.
Wow.
Yeah, like he moved out here when he was like 7, I believe. And so he's that first generation, and they're very traditional. So if you know Taiwanese/Chinese people, they're extremely traditional. They don't like anybody outside of their own culture.
Wow.
And so it was quite difficult for me to face that. And I bring this up because it really makes a big point in that pressure to get married. And so on his family side, they don't want us to get married at all. They don't see any benefit in it because how they calculate things per culture. And rightfully so. Everybody's culture does different things according to what they think is more reasonable. But my family kept pressuring me and pressuring me and pressuring me. And my argument to them was, I don't even know myself.
Wow.
I don't know myself. I can't marry this person if I'm not completely evolved or appreciating myself and finding my value and respecting myself. And I think just even recently too, like growing up and understanding all those things, crying and shedding off that old personality, trying to put a new one as a grown woman, and then also trying to grieve your old self and turn into something new. Like all these things happen all at once. And for somebody, these outside people trying to pressure you to get married, you have to love and understand and appreciate yourself, find that value and worth before you can even like put that on somebody else. Like that responsibility, that's so heavy. You know what I mean? It's already hard enough being ourselves and just appreciating ourselves and finding that value, let alone having that other companion in there. You know, so the outside pressure was there for me. And my grandmother kept telling me, and I love her to death. She means right, you know, like everybody who is from a different demographic background as far as religion, denomination, things like that, they're always going to hold that standard, and rightfully so, and I respect that. But I had to understand this person. And on my father's side, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Swedish culture, but Swedish culture is like, hey, you got to test drive this car before you sign your contract.
Yeah, okay.
Like, so my father's like that. He's like, no. And I think I took after him more than anything because he's like, you have to live with this person, see their habits, understand who they really are and how comfortable they are with you, and then understand if you want to spend the rest of your life with this person or if you want to do this again. And he was like, you really have to take your time because I rushed with your mom. We got married 2 months after knowing each other.
Wow.
Yeah. But that's what society does.
Yeah.
They put this stigma like you have to, you need to be pressured to doing it. And it's just one expensive bill from the start to the finish because, you know, just weddings, marriage, and then your divorce and all that stuff, everything costs money. It's just a big bill. So you really have to set aside yourself aside the social norms and truly understanding, is this your soul life partner?
Right.
Out of everybody in the whole free world, is this your soul partner for you at this very stage in your life and continuing on for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, the pressure's there. I hope I answered the question.
You did, yeah.
And then the people around it makes it worse because you can't even think for yourself. There's so many other people that you value, you care about, and you appreciate their perspective, and you want to not let them down, but then you're miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like you're talking about living up to everyone else's standards and then finally having to make a decision for yourself that I have to do what makes me happy. I have to do what's right for me. And I think something that's important to point out that you said is, you said, for example, other people have different like religious beliefs and things like that. And so in understanding that that's where they're coming from, you're able to actually have compassion and understanding for why they're giving you the advice that they're giving you. Because so then I think it's instead of there being some sort of argument or you being upset about what they're saying, you're able to look at them and say, wow, they really want what's best for me. They're really doing their best to advise me, and I can respect that and appreciate that. But you also don't have to take that on. You also don't have to live by their standards. Like you're a human of free choice, so you get to say, this is what I choose for my life. And the people that really do love you, they're going to have to respect your choice anyways. Something I've always loved about my relationship with my dad is he's always been super honest in the sense that if I ask him for his opinion, he'll always give it to me. So even if it's completely different than what I think, but he always follows that up with, I respect your decision more than my own opinion.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's
That's
huge.
powerful.
And it's something I try to practice with my friendships. So like if my friends ask me for their opinion and I know it's not something that's easy for them to hear, I always start off by saying that same thing. I'm like, hey, I want you to know, I'll tell you my opinion and what I see from my outsider point of view, but like, I totally respect your decision and your life, your lifestyle ultimately, but this is what I see, so it allows that open space to be truthful and be honest, without having to kind of make anyone believe what you believe or see what you see. Cause the truth is everybody has freedom of choice.
It's so true.
And we're all just humans, like trying to figure this thing out. Right.
Yeah.
Like none of us is right. We're just literally trying to experiment and figure out what's working.
Yeah.
You
So,
know?
and Kat, I know that you had a lot of pressure kind of in the opposite sense because
Absolutely the opposite. When I was listening to
Yeah.
your story, I was like completely opposite.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit about your relationship and the pressures that you got going into your relationship?
Yeah. So I've been with my fiance only a year. Feels like quarantine extended that being, having so much time to spend with each other, but only a year. And my pressures come completely opposite. My family are very much like, when you're ready, kind of almost don't rush into it. Don't make it, they want that 7 years together before you get married, which is, I guess, maybe more of a British thing. They want you to kind of test it out and see what's going on. But yeah, so I experienced a little bit of a pushback from my family when I,
Oh, wow.
was moving so fast with this gentleman. And we went through certain things where he unfortunately was unfaithful. And we talked a little bit about that. And I chose to forgive him. Best decision I've ever made, but the hardest one because no one supported it. So I was completely on my own, but I knew what was right. And it was, again, the best decision I ever made because ultimately it's my choice, my decision, and I respected everyone's opinion, but they, unfortunately, some of them, didn't want me to make that choice for myself, and they would guide me in this way, guide me in this way. It was very, very conflicting for me. But now, they're coming along, but it has only been a year, so there are certain opinions from my family that I do still sense when I'm saying, oh, we're doing this, especially from my dad's side. He is very, that kind of British dad who's like, well, I'm best for my daughter, and it's kind of, it's hard for him to see us going so fast, and maybe my mom too. But at the end of the day, I felt the pressure from society more so as my friendship groups from England. All my best friends from home, they have kids, they're married, and I was the one who ran away to America and went off and did my own thing. And I definitely felt like I was behind and I couldn't bond with them over like marriage and children a couple years ago. And I've kind of lost those friendship groups a little bit. But I did find my own niche out here because I feel like LA is like Neverland and people get married way later and kind of grow up a little bit later. But
maybe it's just LA commitment issues. I'm not sure.
Could be. Yeah, pretty much. So it's funny that it's amazing to me that when you were saying that you've been with him for 10 years and you had to hide it, how hard that must be for you to have to hide a relationship.
Oh,
or at least keep
I didn't hide it.
Oh, you didn't hide it.
No, what I said is on Instagram and stuff like that. Like if you ever go on my profile, you never find it, or you'll go to his profile, you never see that. So something that we decided to do as a couple is just really work at ourselves behind closed doors, because there's just a lot I had to understand about him. And what I mean by that is his trauma. I had to take on his trauma and understand him, his background, and then vice versa for me. Like he had to do the same for me. And it was just so hard. And then after a couple of years passed, I was like, like, what about marriage? My mom's like pressuring me. He was like, why would we get married? And then I'm in my head, I'm like, yeah, I agree, because like I still figure that we still have to grow. Like it doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. It just felt rushed, at least for me in my situation. And then it wasn't until like 10 years later where he finally felt comfortable, because he told me, he was like, I finally feel like I'm a man. I finally feel like a good man for you, to provide for you and support you. So I feel like in this chapter of my life, I'm ready to propose to you. And when he did, I was happy. I was excited. And I think for me as a woman, like you said, with the social norms, I wanted that a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like when I was like 27, I'm 31 now, but like when I was 27, like the whole baby fever, everything.
Yeah.
I wanted all that. And then I had some time to myself, and I started to reflect, and I started to think, and I was just like, I still have more growing to do. Like there's so much in me that just wants to evolve so bad.
Yes.
Like, and it just feels so good. Like that feeling, you can't hide it. Like as much as you try and push it down, you cannot hide it. I just get goosebumps talking about it, because it's like, for women, I think we don't really talk about this when it comes down to self-love or things like that. It's so crucial when you have that innate feeling inside, that voice that won't shut you up, keeps you up at night, and you just want to go, go, go. There's much more to you than that. And that's a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. But having somebody, a soulmate that supports you in your endeavors and just embraces all levels of you every time you evolve, I think that's someone that we all need. Yes. You know what I mean? And so for me, I'm thankful that I have Sable, that's his name. I'm so thankful that he supports all things, and he adapts too, because sometimes we look at people like, you've changed, you've done this, right?
Always.
And it's hard, because like with you, like you're trying to grow, and then other people are like, well, eventually I want to see you settle down again. Like you should just like.
Yeah. Or sometimes people will say, they suggested for, branding or a YouTube series to call it Evolved with an ED at the end. And I'm like, no, you're missing the entire point. Like you will have never evolved. Like you always continue to evolve.
That's why I loved your show. I'm sorry, just one more thing before I forget.
Go ahead.
That's exactly why I love everything you have, down to your tattoo, down to that. It's because it's so important. It's not putting a cap on what you're trying to do. And so I appreciate what you do.
Thank you. That means the world to me. And the reason why it says Evolve with Emily, there's a purpose in that. It's not, it's not me at the front or up high saying, hey, it's a team thing, and I'm in it with you. And no matter how much I've evolved in my life, no matter how much work I do or will do, I'm still right neck and neck with you guys. Like that's how I see it with everyone. I want to touch on some things that you said there. First of all, thank you both for sharing so much details with us. Something you said that I think was really important is eventually your fiance, Sable, got to this point where he was like, now I feel like a man, and now I feel like I can provide that for you, and now I want to propose. So what that shows me is that all those years prior, it actually had nothing to do with you, that he wasn't proposing. Whereas a lot of women, they would take that on personally. They would personally take that and think that he doesn't love me enough, or I'm not enough for him. But by not taking it personally, you were able to stick with him side by side until he worked through his own stuff and got to a point where now he was ready to do that, which I think is just so beautiful. And something else that you said was how he always supports you in your changing moments. And I think that's huge, because a lot of us, if we take on this journey of evolving, it means that we're always looking to be that next best version of ourselves. And hopefully, we will look drastically different from 5 years ago. So every 5 years, and not even 5 years, it could be 1 year. It could be a few, like sometimes it happens so fast and you grow so much, you never know what the pace is going to be like, but to have somebody that is just in it with you and wants to grow with you, that's the biggest thing, man. I always think about, the person that I want to be with. And obviously it has to be someone that is doing this kind of work on themselves, that is, has that level of self-awareness. They're going in, they're working on their, trauma or triggers or things like that. And they're always seeking to improve, always seeking to evolve. Because I think life is like such a beautiful journey. And if you can just find somebody that's down, like just someone that's really down for you, I think that's the most beautiful way. And that's what I see a lot in your relationship with you and Shane. So it's interesting how it's funny. We actually have quite the opposite relationships
Absolutely,
here,
yeah.
right? Because, you know, you guys have been together super long. You got a lot of pressure to get married. You guys are off of social media completely. Whereas I don't know if you've checked her out, if you've had time yet, you'll have to after the show. But they have their whole relationship on social media. And I personally have gotten so much happiness and joy. Like, I love it. Like, they're so much fun. They're so funny. So I want to ask you, how do you guys, well, first off, I had a question when you were talking earlier. How did you have the confidence being almost alone in the fact that you were going to say, yes, I'm going to try this relationship again and no one approves kind of thing? How did you have the confidence within yourself to do that despite everyone else telling you, you know, their opinion, which I also want to touch on the fact that I think we all know it comes from a really good place.
Right.
Especially,
they just want the best for you.
Yeah.
They worry for you.
Yeah, they love and they care about you and they want what's best. So how did you have that confidence to say, no, this is what I'm going to do?
Right. Over the years, I've learned to trust myself more and more, and what I feel and what I say kind of is what resonates with me. So, you know, moving back to when I moved to California, my mom didn't want me to move here. My family didn't want me to move here. And that was one of the first biggest decisions, like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go against the family and I'm going to go live my life. Turned out pretty well. You know, I've had amazing adventures. So through learning, through those experiences where I've made those decisions on my own, and not always good decisions sometimes, let me say, I've made some bad decisions and I've also learned with them. But I think you have to make the bad decisions in order to learn and evolve. Otherwise, that's probably when I've done most of my growth personally, was from those mistakes I've made, when I've stayed in a relationship too long, when I've said yes when I should have said no. And that's when I believe I've definitely grown and learned. But back to the question you were saying, which I've lost track of it.
Yeah, basically just how did you find the confidence to go forward when everyone else was against it, like going against the grain, essentially?
That's what I thought. I just kind of looked at the past and I said, you know, most of the time I've followed my intuition, my heart, and at the end of the day, it's my life. And I love you all. I love my family. I love them for caring for me. But I have been this kind of trust my own instincts. I don't want to end up resentful to what, you know, if I listen to my mom and says, you know, well, be careful, maybe you shouldn't do that, you know, as much as she means well, as much as she wants the best for me, say I listen to her, and then a year or two later, you know, I end up, you know, in a different place, not happy, and I would be resentful towards it. So if I make a decision for myself, I can resent myself. I don't mind being resentful towards myself because I can live with that. But being resentful to someone else, I don't know what that looks like. So I just choose to trust my own gut. And again, you know, they do respect that to a point. You know, they don't actually, you know, they're not going to make me do anything because, again, I'm over here in California. I'm a little bit of the black sheep of the family. I ran away. So they do know my kind of personality, and that's who I am. So I think that they've just come to live with it and they kind of get to know it. But again, they see how happy I am now, and they're like, they're growing, they're evolving towards it.
I think that's beautiful. And I think a lot of people can relate with making decisions. And when you're making a decision, you know, other people giving you their input. And it's really hard sometimes to say, you know what, I'm going to do what I think is best. But here's the power in that. And kind of what you were just saying is, instead of giving your power over to someone else and be like, well, I hope the decision you want makes me happy, you have full responsibility. So whether it's a good decision or it ends up being a decision that you learn a lot from, it's something that you can be confident in to say, you know what, this is just part of my life. And I agree with what you're saying. A lot of my biggest growth moments in life have been from some of the mistakes that I've made. Like sometimes you have to feel pain. You have to feel being uncomfortable in order to know what the right decision was, you know? And also just taking off the pressure of yourself to be perfect and to always make the right decision and to never make mistakes. So how do you girls, and you know, whoever wants to touch on this or both, whatever, how do you girls go throughout life and kind of allow yourself to make mistakes without putting so much judgment on yourself and worrying about so much about like, what are other people going to think if I make a mistake? You know, because I feel like that's something we all kind of deal with.
I agree. For me, it wasn't until recently that I felt like I just started getting a handle on that. And for such a long time, I was like, because first, I'm the oldest, by the way, out of all my sisters.
How many?
There's 2 younger sisters.
Okay.
All right. So hopefully this makes sense as the oldest child. I feel like I have a duty, a responsibility, and an obligation to make sure I lead by example, or like I do the right thing. But then we're human and we make a lot of mistakes. And every time I make a mistake, my family, they look at me a certain way, or at least I assume that they did, if that makes sense. And with that, I would just chew on that information, and then until it was like literally all up in my mind circulating, and it would just engulf me. So stuff like that, even my bad experiences, even some of the stuff when I did good, I would always doubt myself, and I would have panic attacks, like literal anxiety attacks, because I wasn't fulfilling what I'm supposed to do. And I would just fail. And I didn't know that failure was a good thing, because I was out there trying.
Yes.
I wasn't giving up. I was just trying things, the things that maybe didn't click for me. And I was trying to find other things where I can have a good ebb and flow. You know what I mean? But all that whole entire time, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm failing. I'm not even getting anything done. And my mom, she would have her words, how she would say certain things, and it wouldn't be something receptive to me, if that makes sense. So I can give you advice or something like that, but if you're not receptive and you're going through certain things and traumas, you're not going to receive any information.
Yeah, that's huge. Like, you won't be able to hear what they're actually saying.
Yes, exactly. So with that, throughout all those years up until now, I realized I had to literally let go. I was holding on to so much that I was enabling myself. I was like literally just making myself just stop at the forefronts and just giving up. It wasn't that I was going out to do anything to try something new for myself. I was literally failing myself.
Wow.
Completely. And I had to look at myself in the mirror and just be so honest with myself. And then I started peeling back those layers, because it's layers to when you get to this point of trying to find that confidence, right? Trying to like build up and just kind of like,
yeah, trying to build yourself up into doing what you know is right for you, or taking that next step, or even the first step.
Yes. And so can you repeat the question one more time? Because I promise this is a tie-in. I want to make sure I just hit the nail on the head right now.
I forgot. Wait, what was the question?
Mistakes.
Yeah. The mistakes, how do we bounce back from that?
Right. Like, how do you not judge yourself so hard, or how do you allow yourself basically to just go throughout life? Because life is comprised of good decisions, bad decisions, everything in between. So how do you go throughout life without putting all this pressure on yourself to get it right every time? Like, we're going to get it wrong. We're human.
Exactly. And so like now, with everything that has happened in my life from all my experiences, I literally had to sit back and say, I'm proud of you.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to tell yourself that.
Yes.
I've been telling other people that this whole time, and it makes them feel good. Why can't I tell myself?
Yes.
No, literally. Have you told yourself, Emily, I'm proud of me. I'm proud of me. You did it, girl.
I think it was.
Have you ever said that to yourself?
It's been a while. I'm trying to.
I think okay, so it's funny you bring this up, because you're bringing back like an exact moment of when I did this for myself. And for some reason, I guess I do see it as like a very big turning point, but you bringing this up is huge. It was when I was doing like a world tour with Athlete, and we were in Amsterdam, and I don't know why I was thinking about this, but I mean, I was recently divorced, and I basically, when that happened, I go into like survival mode, and it's something that I've done since I was younger when really hard or bad things happen. And what that means for me is I just go, you know, and then eventually, like, I don't ever really stop to process like what's going on. Yeah. And I don't think that I stopped to process that. And there was just this one moment in Amsterdam, and I just remember stopping for a second and saying, I'm so proud of you for doing what you needed to do, and essentially for getting out of that, you know, relationship. And I'd never told myself that before. And it was just like this like moment of just like release, like you said, like you're able to just like let it go. And sometimes you're not even aware of what you're carrying around until you have that moment of, and I think it's so important, like you said, to look in the mirror and look at yourself and be like, hey, like, I'm so proud of you for everything that you've been through, everything you're going through. And here's the thing, even if it was a great decision, even if it was a horrible decision, you did the best that you could do with all the information at that given point in time. And I think that that's huge. And I think that allows people to walk throughout life without just so much pressure.
Yeah, and wait, because I don't know, when you train your clients, don't you see it in them too?
Yeah.
Like when they are bombarded with so much, and they will say everything on their schedule, and you know it's not that. It's in their mind, and what they're
they always go all the way around. Then keep going. Oh, there we are, 45 minutes later.
Yeah, and I like what you said earlier about survival mode. So like what happens in survival mode? We do not ever think about ourselves. We don't think about anything else, anything to keep us going, just busy. But that was the thing. Like I was running away too, where I'm just like, just trying to keep myself busy. It's not enough. And it wasn't until I actually got sick that I was just like, and it was just bringing me down, and my whole fitness changed. The competition changed for me, where I lost a bunch of weight, and it was just a bunch of stuff that I thought I was letting other people down. And I'm like, why am I so concerned with letting other people down? Why do I keep doing this? So I had to dig in deep. It all started when I was a kid, being the oldest child, you know, always trying to fulfill certain things. And I'm like, you know, I made it this far. I've done so much. I'm proud of myself. I moved to a different country right after I graduated high school when I was 17 years old. I did what I had to do, and I explored everything, and I'm going to own this.
Hell
And I'm
yeah.
not going to be upset about it, because for such a long time, I was beating myself up for it, and not once did I get a chance to stop and enjoy anything. I was always on to the next
Wow.
thing, and that really bugged me
Yeah.
because I'm not in the moment. I'm not enjoying myself. And then here I am. I literally have to sit and think. I'm like, I've been running this whole time and I have not appreciated life. So let me stop and do this, because doing that, it kind of boosts my confidence in a way, having that solitude of a moment, just for me. Oh my
Right.
gosh, you know that feeling when you have
yeah.
something just for you, you don't have
Yes,
to share it.
yes.
You don't have to give it to your friends.
You don't post it.
You don't post it. You don't have to
just
tell
your
your
moment.
family or nothing. Something just for you in
Yes.
your head, where you just like, you can go to the beach, you can go anywhere and just close your eyes and just take it in. And you're like, I did it. I'm good. Let's get back on the grind after. Just take a moment,
Yeah.
you know?
We don't take enough time,
No.
like each day. Just I read this beautiful book. I think it's called The Gift of Seashells or something. It's about how every day, every week, every month, and every year, women should have a small amount of time for themselves. So once a week, you should have at least an hour to yourself. Every day, at least 10 minutes. Every month, at least a day, so that you just have that time just to be with yourself, you know, kind of experience you and your thoughts in your own body, and have no outside world, no men, no people, no distractions. So that's why I always say going to the beach, doing something for yourself, and just kind of taking care of you, because I've struggled with that a little bit. And I finally, I think, because I'm very thankful that my fiance, he does a lot of work on himself. He's actually encouraged me to do a lot more, like looking within and
Wow.
working on myself. And it's great because I have that support from him, because before that, I was just kind of in survival mode too. I was going through everything, the motions. Okay, what do you do here? And now I'm like, okay, well, let me look at myself, let me appreciate myself, and let me kind of do the inner work and stuff like that. So
Oh man, that's so beautiful. And I know for myself that taking those moments has been really, really helpful for me. Like I actually remember, so like I said, for the longest time I was in that like survival mode, and that kind of becomes the way that you operate, like always doing things. And I remember when I finally started to practice stillness in my life, that all of a sudden I just like, I was in this one moment where I was, you know, having a moment to myself, being still. And then tears just start flowing down, and because I was just like overfilled with so much gratitude, because I realized that like everything that I've been working so hard for, like everything that I've pushed for my entire life, is actually right here, right now, in this moment. Like even right now, as like we're all sitting here talking, you know, it's like all those hardest moments of our lives like led up to us having this discussion right now, and that's so beautiful. And if you really realize it, the only thing that we really have in this world is like the present moment and the people around us and what's actually going on in the now.
Yeah.
You know, too often people spend time, too much time in the past. You know, they spend way too much time in the future worrying, when in reality it's like, hold up, I know you're freaking out about what happened, I know you're freaking about what might happen, but what is the current truth of the reality right now in this present moment? And that is that I'm surrounded by like-minded, beautiful people who I love. You know what I mean? And like when you really bring yourself back down to like, what is the reality and the truth of this moment? Oftentimes it's really not that heavy. It's really not that scary. You don't have to have, you know, depression about what happened or anxiety about what might happen, but just the presence of like what actually is, and sincere gratitude for that.
I love what you just said. And you know, I just want to add on one thing that helped me was to understand my family better, understand that toxic loop, and having closure with that. I have to say, in order for me to get to the point of what you're talking about and the points that we all actually touched on, I really had to let go of my family toxicness that we all went through, or the trauma and the pain and the hurt. And I know each and every one of us can relate to, because we're all come from different backgrounds, and everybody pretty essentially goes through the same thing, but just in a different way.
Yeah.
We really, really do.
Yeah.
And when you look back at your family, their habits and what they were coerced to do and not really fulfill their lives, I look at that all the time and look at how they're not tapping into their true potential. And I want that for myself. And I think for longest time, I was holding on to that, trying to help them get out of their own way, because I was like, if I help them, I know it's going to help me too. I'm going to have that closure. And this is for those people who are trying to do the same thing that I used to do. Just trying to have that closure with that. I realize I can't help everybody. A lot of people don't want to be helped. A lot of people don't want to face their traumas. It's too painful.
Oh, yeah.
And I literally went through the ringer because I was getting sick. I was like, I have to figure out what's really going on. And this is beyond just the autoimmunity. I have to shift my mindset. mindset. So let me dig in deep and understand where I'm getting these habits from. Why can't I let it go? You know, and I paid more than usual attention to my family and myself, obviously. And I was just like, I got to let this go. I got to let that go. I'm holding myself back way too much. And so I barely feel like I'm at level 1. I'm not even like tapped into that. I'm just like clearing everything out. I'm like, all right, cool. This is just, there we go. This is not mine. That's not mine to hold. I'm holding on to this. And I thought it was mine, but it's not. It's not my issue to bear. Right. You know what I mean? And I had to analyze my circle of control. Like everything in here is my control, but I was trying to control everything outside that circle. And that was my biggest downfall and something I had to face and let go.
Right. They say, what is it on the airplane? Put your mask on first before you help others. We do not do that for ourselves in life. Like we try and help others. We try and, you know, take care of their problems. But then who's putting your own mask on for you? You got to help yourself first. Otherwise, you're going to be no good for anybody else.
Yeah, that's so true. And I can, I definitely know that a lot of people can relate to what you're saying with wanting to help their family and wanting to help them be their best self. And, but it's like you said, you really have to identify, do I have control over this? And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't allow your emotions to overtake you in that area. So if you find yourself incredibly stressed out and anxious because your family member X, Y, and Z, ask yourself, is that in my personal control? Can I personally do something about this? And if the answer is no, if the answer is that it's in their control, you have to learn how to let that go and make peace with it. And kind of echoing everything that we're saying here, it's so important that you first focus on yourself. You first go down this journey for yourself, because you can't ever work through everything that you need to work through if your focus is on everybody else. It's not selfish to take time for yourself. It's not selfish to dig through your own trauma and your own heartbreak and your own things that you're dealing with before dealing with other people. It's actually necessary, because if you don't do it, you're never fully going to be able to connect and relate to the other people that you actually want to help. And I think the best way to help other people is by living your life like a leader. Be the example. Live the way that everyone sees and is like, wow, I see that you're free from that trauma. You're free from that heartbreak. You live your life in such a more peaceful way. That's what I want. That's the coolest thing, you know, because people see it and they want it.
Right. Until somebody sees that, they have to make their own decision for themselves. Like I've tried to push certain family members into leading what I'm doing now. Okay, you know, I'm doing this. So, you know, but until you make it for yourself, you have to make those decisions for yourself. And I don't think anyone can, you know, be pushed into a decision. So when they see you doing it, they're like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be like that. And then they're like, oh, okay, maybe I should do that, you know?
Totally.
Right.
It's the same thing like when some people will ask questions. How do I get my girlfriend into the gym? Or how do I get my boyfriend into the gym? And I'm like, honestly, the best example is just to not push it on them, but to do it for yourself. Do it for yourself. Let them see that you're more confident when you guys are dressed up and you're going out for dinner, that you feel better about yourself, that you have more energy, and they're going to want to have that same thing for their life.
Yeah.
So, Kat, I know that you have started this journey on your Instagram where you're doing TED Talks and you're sharing your takeaways. So what led you to wanting to do that, and tell them what you're doing in detail, and kind of, just share your experience with that.
Yeah. So I just feel like, you know, we don't learn enough sometimes. Well, I haven't been doing enough learning. You know, you go to school and then 22 when, you know, graduate, and then, you know, you're free. You don't have to learn anymore. So I kind of stopped learning for a couple of years. I lived life. I got an experience. So I really kind of thought about it the other week, and I was like, I'm really not doing enough to learn and educate myself better. And I'm kind of new to these TED Talks. I guess they came out when I was still cruising the high seas. So I kind of looked into it, and I was like, you know, these are amazing. Like the 15-minute videos, you can kind of, you know, pop in, watch one a day, and kind of learn something new every day. So my new 30-day challenge, which is what I like to do, is every 30 days do a new challenge, so you kind of remember what you did that month. And so when you look back at the year, you're like, okay, well, January I did this challenge, February I did this challenge. So this is kind of my October leading into November challenge, is watch a TED Talk every day for 30 days, kind of put my thoughts out on social media and hope that people will join along. You know, I put it out there. I don't have a ton of followers yet, but put it out there, and I had a couple people respond and say, you know, let me share that with you. So send me the link so we can watch them together.
That's
and we can talk about it.
cool.
And it's really bringing me into like a discussion every day. It's letting me learn from other people's thoughts and
That is
opinions
so
on it.
empowering.
And it's just,
Wow.
it's been a really good kind of feedback, and I've enjoyed it. And even yesterday when my phone died, I went to the Apple store, queued up for 3 hours, 4 hours getting it fixed. They told me it was $600 and all this thing. I still got home at 9 o'clock at night and I sat down. I was like, I didn't do my TED Talk today.
Wow.
So I almost like feel like I need that. Like social media is great for certain things, and especially to hold you like accountable, because other people are waiting for that. I had someone text me like, are you doing the TED Talk today? And I was like, shit, I gotta, let's do it.
That's
okay.
the best.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. And I think it's so important to always stay learning and growing. And there's so many different avenues that we can do that nowadays. Like whether it's an actual formal form of education or it's something like a podcast or like a TED Talk. There's just so much information out there. So I think it's up to the individual to continuously choose to utilize it in a way that makes them better. I know for myself, whenever I first started getting into personal development, I just started with books, and books were like the best thing ever. I was like, do you guys understand? People they write this book and then all the information is there.
Yep.
All you have to do is read it and then you apply it. It was like, mind boggling because I'd only ever read for school. I only read like educational things, which makes sense. But with the personal development stuff, it's like it's kind of like you can fast forward all this growth, instead of just blindly walking throughout life, you can get the fast forward track right there,
It's all there. It's all there for you. It's on the internet.
Right.
We have everything. Access 2 minutes. You can type something in. And there it is. Bibbidi boo.
I love that. I really do. Because like yourself, I'm always going online and trying to find new TED Talks or anything like that. Dr. Jordan Peterson, one of my favorite psychologists to listen to. And it's just, there's so much information that I want to just gobble up, like keep putting in my mind to just evolve better. A lot of people aren't like that, because I've heard so many people, they go, oh, it's too much information. It's just too much for my brain. That's not what I'm trying to do. And then I can understand there's just different kinds of people in life, and they're not going to want to be as zealous as you are when it comes down to learning information or just like taking that in. And so I think for me, it was separating myself from those individuals and making sure I'm surrounded by those other individuals like yourself and like you, Emily, who want to be better on that next level, because being around people really does influence you, whether we feel like it or not.
So true.
Amen to that. Absolutely.
And I think that's why it's huge that you're putting that out on Instagram, and it's amazing because what you're doing is, one, you're inspiring other people that are watching, but then two, you're actually cultivating a community for yourself.
Right.
You're going to be drawing those people to you that are seeking growth, which is amazing. And I think, some people, they say, oh, well, I don't have friends, or I don't have a good friend group. I don't have a good support system. We're in this day and age of social media where you can connect with people like this, like hashtag personal development, hashtag evolve, hashtag growth, like all these things. That's where you're going to find people that are on the same journey as you. So whether it's a fitness journey or it's a personal development and therapy type of journey or business journey, there are people out there. You just have to intentionally connect and not be afraid to put yourself out there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to know how it's been as far as like friendships go. So like friendships and relationships, you both smile. I'm sorry. We clearly have some stories here. So how have you cultivated good friendships and relationships in your life?
Well, I have to start with looking at myself. Would I tolerate? Would I entertain? And what am I allowing to happen? So I start there. I know it's a little bit dark, but
I love it.
I really have to be real with myself, because I realize when I start sugarcoating things, I kind of just water things down, and then I don't tell myself the truth about certain stuff. That's just me. Like, I'll just be like, oh, okay, well, it's not that bad. I mean, everybody's human. They're imperfect. So, and I start to excuse a lot of bad behavior. So for me, as I'm getting older, I realize what kind of person I am and what kind of friend I am. And I had to assess those kinds of things and then be better, because I've had some people in my life who I love dearly, and I realize that we're growing on different paths. We're just not the same people. This person finds like complete value in trash talking other people. And as of recent, I kid you not, like, it just weighs me down when I hear stuff like that, just continuing to just badmouth people, talk about them nonstop. And I really, really detest that from the bottom of my heart, because I feel like it's just, it's unprogressive. And for me, I'm all about being progressive purposefully with intent. And so if people in my corner are not like that, I have to learn how to let go and slowly, find new people who are in my life who are about that, because I've allowed that to happen. Those kind of people, those negative people in my life, I allowed them in there because I wasn't right with myself.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's huge. Because what you're saying is that the people that are around you are a reflection of what's inside of you.
It's true.
And maybe what you've dealt with, what you haven't dealt with.
It's true, whether we feel like it or not. And it's a part of us that we surround ourselves with. You're going to surround yourself with a couple of people. Maybe you have one bad person and they're an old friend, but you're just like, I have love for them. I can love them from afar, maybe pop in here and there, but I got to stay away because they're that toxic. And I've had one other person in my life who's absolutely amazing, just kind-hearted, but this person makes all the wrong decisions. Like, she'll put herself in just horrible predicaments, and she'll tell me about it. And when I receive it, I'm just like, I don't like how this feels for me. And I'm not trying to be a bad friend, but now I have to really re-examine what I'm tolerating. I have to really see, like, okay, what am I putting up with? Am I going back to my old self where I'm just trying to be there for other people? Because I'm falling back in that pattern. And if I do, then everything's just going to fall back. And I don't want to be there. So I have to really see what I'm trying to be about. And I can't have my feet in both ends. I have to just be all in or nothing. And for me, making that decision when it comes down to friends now is super important. And I think, yes, it is a hindrance to a certain degree, but I'm still evolving right now. I have to get to a point where I'm truly comfortable with myself. I'm still growing. So I can't allow any other distractions that are really negative in my life to affect me, because it will. You know, so.
I recognize and respect your boundaries so much. I think that's beautiful. And it's part of it is being really self-aware to know where you're at and what you can handle. The example that's coming to mind is kind of like when an alcoholic is trying to get sober, maybe when they're beginning at it, they wouldn't even go near a party that has alcohol. Maybe when they're really into it, they're okay going out to dinner that has drinks served, you know, and it's like being very being self-aware of understanding like where I'm at and what kind of situation I can be around right now. Because like you said, there are some people that aren't for you that you can love from afar. And there doesn't need to be any big, any big confrontation or anything, but they don't need to be people that are around you all the time, because what I'm hearing from you is that you're very empathetic and you're very intuitive and you sense energy. And what you're sensing is like the energy that they're bringing with you, because every person that you're with, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, a significant other, a family member, like everyone brings energy into the equation. And you have to ask yourself, is this a clean energy? Is this an energy that brings me down? Is it an energy that lifts me up? And once you're aware of that, then that can kind of shape how much time you spend with them. Yeah. So what about you as far as like relationships, and what have you kind of experienced?
Do you know what? We differ in a lot of things, but exactly the same with this. You know, I had to take inventory of my whole friendship group a couple months ago, kind of before quarantine, because I just realized they weren't serving me to grow further in my life. Wow. I was kind of being held down, held back by certain people. And again, the love from afar, I don't have any hate towards them. I need to distance myself. And I really, it was hard at first because, you have these people trying to come back into your life. Hey, where are you? Like, what's going on? We care about you. But I just knew for my mental health, and in order to me to grow into this relationship that I was newly in, and grow into me becoming, 30 and being myself, I had to just distance myself. And it's probably one of the best things I ever did, because I've grown so much in this past year. And like they say, the mirror, you are who you surround yourself with. And again, certain people used to gravitate towards me because I am a very kind of empathetic, warm person, good energy. I will bring you in, I will look past all those bad things that you do and see only the best that you have inside of you. But then sometimes that is a hindrance to me, because I used to leave feeling so drained. Sometimes I'd pick up the phone because I would do it because I was a nice person. I wanted to talk to them, wanted to be there. But after the phone call, I'd be like, oh my God. And it was affecting my day. And this was just like, and it was really, I can't blame these people because they are who they are. They haven't done as much work, or they're not ready to. But I was allowing them into my life, and it was my issue, and I had to say, you know what, enough's enough. Stop it. Stop being trying to be a good human and save people and be good. Just, again, focus, reiterate, and put my focus back on myself. And that's what I did.
That's so important.
It is. And I think it's important for people that are similar to us, that are very empathetic, to set boundaries. So, like, for example, one of the boundaries that I have is I do not answer my phone every time it rings. I've released myself from that. So even with family members who I love dearly, who call me all the time, what's up, little sister? I'm joking. No, I'm actually not joking. I purposely didn't answer your call the other day.
Off the Christmas
I'll
list.
tell you the truth. I know. I love her to death. But, if it's like in the middle of a work day and I would just always answer and always pick up, and because I love them so much, I want to be there for them, but there's healthy boundaries to be had there. And the truth is, no, I didn't answer your phone call, Rose. But the truth is, she just wanted to ask about her hair. And it was totally fine that I called her later. You know, so having those healthy boundaries. And some people don't realize that you don't have to answer the phone every single time it rings.
Yes.
You can leave them on a red text message. It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
And that feels really good. I kid you not, like the real ones will truly understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
Like I waited maybe a couple of days to respond to this girl, and I really didn't mean to, but like sometimes your day gets ahead of you.
All the time.
And living in LA, if anybody knows, you really can't answer the phone because you have to jump in a car, you got to drive, you got to sit in traffic, you got to pay attention because you already know you're going to crash.
And then parking
is just terrible. And as soon as you park, what happens? Boom.
Bam, you're in there, you're podcasting, and then as soon as you're done, it's a thing.
Yeah.
I have to echo what you guys are saying about the friendship. So I noticed that in my life that I knew that I was going through this phase of like really wanting to change where I was headed, and I noticed that the friends that I was around, I really loved them, but they weren't on the same path at all, and it was all of them pretty much. And so it was really hard for me because I found myself in these scenarios where I didn't want to be alone and I didn't want to be lonely. And I was like, I had this struggle of, are you doing this to yourself because you're not going to hang out with these people? And then I would go hang out with these people, not wanting to engage in the activities that they were engaging in, and so I wouldn't, and I'd be happy with it. And I'd be cool with it. But there was a part of me that felt, it wasn't ingenuine, but it almost felt like I didn't feel fully myself, It's like when you're in that scenario and, you're there and you're happy to be there, but like, you're not really truly connecting with anyone.
Exactly.
You feel even more alone.
Yep.
And so what I found was by putting myself in those scenarios, yes, I love those people. I think they're great, but they're not headed where I'm headed. And in that case, I think it is okay to take time to be yourself. I think it is okay to spend time by yourself on a Friday night in your apartment.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. I was about to say, it's beautiful.
Like the old tradition of I'm washing my hair. Tonight, sorry, I can't go out and washing my hair. I get what that means now because that was a saying. I don't know if that's a British saying or not, but the women would say, oh, you go out tonight. I'm washing my hair. It's like a whole ta-da. We all know washing your hair takes 10 minutes. Yeah. But I think if I look back now, the meaning was that I'm taking a woman's time. Like I'm having time on my own. I'm being at home and being with myself.
Awesome. For me, it's like I'm putting on my self tanner.
Yeah.
Self tanner night.
Self tanning.
I love that. I wanted to actually touch on to what you said. Everybody has a vibration, right? You mentioned that in regards to friendships and like tying into what you're saying, you just felt completely exhausted. That's something else for me. Like, let's say you care about somebody, a friend or any family, we are connected to them through vibration and frequency, right? So whatever they're going through, whatever type of problems they're facing as empathetic people, we feel it. There's a tethered connection there. And I bring up all those friendships too, because it's something that you continue to have happen to you, where you feel that person and they're continuing to be who they are, and you're outgrowing that. You still take that on in a way. Yeah. And so for me, it's like cutting that tie, at least for some, you know what I mean? So I can just be better for myself. It's so necessary because it does affect you on a different level, on an epigenetic level to what you allow.
It's so true.
It's very true.
And I feel like it's so important just to assess how you feel after you're with people. So let's say that you do go hang out, you go have a coffee date or whatever.
Go make TikToks.
Yeah, go make TikToks together. And then afterwards assess how you feel. There have been times where, for example, I'm just going to use you guys as an example, but her and Shane came over like a week or two ago on a weekend. It was on a Sunday. I literally did not stop working from the Monday morning that I started working until like Sunday afternoon. Like I worked every single day. I was training multiple times. I was very tired, but like we decided to hang out. And so I was like, yeah, I want to see you guys. So they come by. I think we all thought it'd probably be like a real quick visit or something. We ended up just like hanging out the rest of the afternoon. And when they left, I was like happy and I was motivated and I like felt really good. And I recognized that. I was like self-aware to be like, hold up. You feel really good after just being with people. And I'm I'm so energy sensitive that I love being alone. Like I do love people, but I recharge alone.
Yes, I totally understand.
Yeah. So to recognize the fact that like I felt better after being with people, I was like, those are some of my people.
Right?
Yeah. And same thing like with you and everyone at First Phorm. That's why I think we leave First Phorm with like on such a high, because like it's a bunch of those people all in the same room. And it's like the coolest feeling in the world.
It really is.
And I don't know how you feel, but sometimes when I come home from those weekends, weekends, I'm not gonna lie, I have a little bit of like blues.
I do too.
You do
Like
too?
this past weekend, didn't you think it was the best weekend we've had?
It was, yeah, it was.
Not this past weekend, but the athlete weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
We revisited. I thought it was amazing. I felt like, despite of what happened, despite of what's going on, people were able to connect because people were willing to listen. They wanted to understand and get better and just be better. And that's the best about being around the people in First Phorm, because they're always on to the next best thing for the people. And I love that so much. And I'm looking for friends near me, like besides you, Emily. I know you're about to leave me, but
I know,
it's all
Just
good.
come to Houston.
Come visit.
Come visit us. I'll make you some
make
tea. We'll have a tea party
That would be
podcast.
beautiful. I think it's important though, like those connections, all kinds of things like that with the right kind of people, because it does make a massive difference once you get older. You know.
Oh yeah.
Well, girls, it's been absolutely incredible having you both on. We're running out of time here. So just a quick last question for the both of you. Just in this moment right now, what is something that you would tell your younger self?
You go first.
Oh God.
Anything, just whatever comes to mind in this moment.
It's all gonna be okay. Like, don't stress the little things. You know, don't feel like, you know, you've got to be perfect all the time. I'd say I'd go back to myself when I was probably like 13, 14, and I wanted to fit in with people and I wanted to be good at things because I wanted, you know, to have friends. But really, that doesn't matter. And those friendships that you make, you know, that's great at that time, but you're going to evolve and you're going to make different connections and it's all going to be okay. So probably that.
I love that. I think that's so important too.
Yeah.
And adding on to what you're saying, I would just speak to myself in a way where don't be so fearful. Don't doubt yourself and keep going. Enjoy life and embrace it. Just simple reminders like that. I think for myself, if I heard that, I would have been something greater, to be honest with you. What would you tell your younger self?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it. And just right now in this moment, I think I would tell myself, first and foremost, you're doing an awesome job. Like, damn, you're doing a great job. And like, I'm so proud of you. And like, to slow down, you know?
Oh, man.
Yeah, just slow down. Just appreciate the journey. Because I think we all were very driven, very workforce, very hardworking people, you know? But with those people, you need to stop every now and then, just say, hey, good job.
You need to celebrate those moments of goodness, because like you get there and then you're like, okay, well, what's the next thing? And you don't take that time to be like,
oh my gosh,
wow, I
yes.
celebrated that.
Yeah,
I did that.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so where can people find you? Plug your Instagrams, all of them, any podcast, any website, whatever you want to plug. Go ahead, Stormi, I'll start with you.
So my Instagram handle is I am Stormi Knight. Go ahead and find me there and you'll find the rest of the information that you need.
Perfect. I have Instagram as kat.daya, soon to be Vico. And you can also find me on Instagram as Boston and the Brit if you want to follow along and see some crazy couple videos from me and my fiance too.
Thank you guys so much for being on the show today. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
Thank you.
Of course. And to everyone listening, if you guys wouldn't mind, let us know if this podcast was helpful to you in any way, if it brought value to your life. Please share it on your Instagram stories, text it to a friend, rate and review the podcast, and just do your thing to share it, because that's the only way that the podcast gets out. Do me a favor and go support both of them. Make sure you follow them, say what's up, DM them, and tag them when you share it so that they can get their feedback as well. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next episode of Evolve with Emily.
Thank you.
Of course. Do you guys want donuts?
I want
I
donuts.
have donuts.
Child, I bought my cucumbers.
You got cucumbers? Wait, are you allowed to have
Wait a minute, you have
donuts?
a
I
cucumber?
can't, unfortunately. I'm going to watch y'all.
Are you okay if we eat them?
Yeah, I bought some kiwis.
What's
So
your
donuts?
Check it out. Which one are you going in on?
You picked mine.
So this one, oh yeah, wait. Okay.
That's good.
They look so bomb, though.
This is pumpkin. I don't.
I came prepared.
You want that one? Go ahead.
I'm not gonna eat the whole thing. I'm gonna just.
Well, then I'll have a bite after you.
And you will bite. Okay, you ready?
Wait, this is so cute.
I know. I'm going to
You
take
take
a
a
picture.
photo?
Yes.
Look, I love how girls already know.
Oh my
Can you take a photo of this? How is it?
Mm-hmm.
That is
Get
so
the other end
cute.
of my donut.
You know I will, baby.
Thank you. We should start a new podcast where you just eat food live on camera.
I know. That'd be so fun. You want me to take a picture of your donut eating?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can have a bite of another one. I don't want to ruin it.
Oh my gosh.
That's so good.
That is phenomenal.
Give me another end.
That is phenomenal. That is a 10 out of 10. If you don't know, this is SK Donuts in LA. It's one of the top 3 donuts in California.
That's bomb.
Wow.
Emily, you guys, we got to talk about the wigs next time.
Oh no, I got the
How
wigs.
about that? There was another thing too. I can't remember.
No, I kept thinking about it. I was like, we're gonna talk
When
about
am I gonna
that.
bring
It
this
looks
up?
so good.
I can't
Oh
believe
my
you
God.
can't eat this.
I know.
You got kiwi fruit. Thank you.
It's not that good.
It's not that good.
It's terrible.
I'm like,
tastes like feet.
10 out of 10. Best one. Not that good.
I'm so jealous. I'm about to post this. This is so cute. Oh my God.
Oh my
Damn,
God,
Emily,
so
that was
good.
so good. Can't believe that was an hour already.
I know.
Yeah.
I
When
thought